Hi, I'm Jon Binnie. I'm a spiritual mentor based here in Bonnie, Scotland, and I help clients all around the world deep dive into their past lives. And I'd like to share a little bit about that journey and how I can help others and help you. And so first of all, let me explain a little bit about what I do. So I offer a range of healings, clearings, and activations. And as part of the sessions that I do with clients, I work with them to set up a safe space. I bring in their spirit guides into that space. And then I ask one of their spirit guides to step forwards and to talk through with me and the client what it is that they need to do the most healing in and for. And this is all through all space and time. So I believe in a quantum universe where all time, past, present, parallel, and future is all happening at the same time. And that's really cool because when I work with clients, I'm able to work with their spirit guides and step into parallel lives, past lives, and really identify some of the challenges that they have and where they need the most healing. And I could talk through some examples here in Scotland, and I know it's the case for a lot of us around the world. We definitely have many people that suffer in this lifetime of the repeating patterns, often the repeating fear patterns of what is sometimes labeled as witch wounds. And it's not a very pleasant way of describing past life trauma. However, it does bring forward and evoke some of those feelings of fear and in our shadows. And the way I work with clients is to, first of all, when we set up a safe space and we invite in their spirit guides, we first of all ask and we set the intention and we say, how can we help this person? Where do they need the most healing? And we ask to be taken to a lifetime where the most healing will be gained in this moment. And what I do with the spirit guide is I then open up a portal through space and time. So we still remain in this safe bubble of the session together. And I'll bring in one of my spirit guides. I'll bring in one of the client's spirit guides and the client. And usually the four of us will step through this portal through space and time, and we will travel. Often to me, it looks like a wormhole that you see in many like sci-fi movies. Often like lots of colors around the sides of the portal, representing the different energies. And we'll travel through space and time. And then we'll arrive quite near to the location of the trauma from that past life. And there's definitely anticipation, a little bit of apprehension, and sometimes a little bit of fear about visiting that moment, that past life. But it's very much a safe space. And I go through a lot of effort to make sure that the client feels safe and warm and loved and protected at every stage, and that what they're about to witness in their past life is for their highest good. And so what I often see is when we get to the past life itself, so let's say we traveled back in Scotland or in England, let's say we traveled back 300 or 400 years, and there was some sort of like trauma occurring. What we will then see together, the client and myself, and this is something that I see with my third eye and clair cognizance is the best way I can describe it, and that my client also sees. And so we're able to talk to each other and ask, like, what do you see in this lifetime? And what often comes through is this pattern of, in our past lives, using really beautiful soul gifts. So abilities in both in this physical world and like psychic abilities in the kind of other dimensions and metaphysical aspects of reality. and their gift is either either they've used it in anger, so they might have been battling, they might have lost some loved ones, and that they've used their gift to defend themselves. And sometimes when these gifts are used, let's say the client had the gift of fire, like a pyrokinesis, they could hold flames in their hands in that lifetime. When they see something really horrible, when they experience something horrible in that past life and go through that trauma, often the anger, that darkness, as well as their light, amplifies their gift. And sometimes it becomes uncontrollable for them in that moment. And so I have seen clients where they've used their gift not for the greatest good, and it's caused them a lot of trauma. Like they've seen the devastation they've caused to others in the surrounding land, and then they have like a deep regret in that moment. Like they're very ashamed of what happened, and so their soul decides to shut down that gift. And quite often clients lose their lives in that lifetime, around that moment or shortly after. And so what we do is, first of all, the client and I step into that moment just before or just after the trauma has happened. And we don't intervene. We step in to appear as angels in that moment to that past life version of the client. And we appear as two angels, and we stand there. And I encourage the client to talk to that version of themselves. And inevitably, they send their past life a lot of love and compassion. We're often given a lot more context by the client's guides. So, for example, quite a lot of the time, the client is actually acting out karma on behalf of the universe. And so helping balance darkness and light. Often the persecution that they've experienced in past lives has happened to many others. And so eventually karma, the universe, rebalances this darkness and light. And so the universe will ask a soul and say, can you step in and act out this karma? Can you level set that darkness and light? And I've seen that happen many times. Not all the time, but it does happen a lot. And when that moment happens, it's a big relief for the client, because they realize that they were acting for the greater good, even though in the moment it was incredibly traumatic and they felt like they lost control. And often they did lose control. And so we work together to really embrace that moment, to send in so much love and allow the client to hold that version of themselves, to give them a big angelic hug in that moment. And what I see is that the past life version of the client experiences this, that in their present moment, they also experience this angel of a future version of them stepping forwards with this beautiful unconditional love. And when they're ready, they can choose to continue the healing. They can continue to integrate these gifts. Really, the choices of what happens next are completely up to the client and their guides. And so, we work together to bring the client back into the present moment, retaining their awareness of this past life, all of the great things they did, as well as understanding the trauma they went through, and then just understanding in this lifetime how those patterns have repeated into this lifetime, how they've often shut down their incredible soul abilities because of this fear. And so we work together to understand from their guides, what are the daily practices they can put in place to really cultivate that healing, that integration, and that gift activation. I hope this finds you well. And if you'd like to find out more about my sessions, I do have a new past life regression session available on my website on jonbinnie.com. Feel free to visit and book me in. Thank you. Sending love from Scotland.